Welcome to Local Control, Task 18, Issue Go-Around Instructions and Issue Breakout Instructions. Alright, for Go-Around, instructions for a pilot to abandon his or her approach to landing. Additional instructions may follow. Unless otherwise advised by ATC, a VFR aircraft or an aircraft conducting a visual approach should overfly the runway while climbing to the traffic pattern altitude and enter the traffic pattern via the crosswind leg. Now, one caveat with this is, as you can see in the example below, it's an F-16 on the go with an F-16 in the overhead. If we did not have departure restrictions like we do at Edwards for them to maintain at or below 3,300 till departure in, that aircraft could then climb up into the overhead pattern and be a direct factor for anybody at initial, especially at an airport that doesn't have an offset initial. So it's something you need to think about whether or not you give additional instructions like go around, maintain at or below 3,300 till departure in. It's something you need to think about also if you have a non-base assigned aircraft and you send them around, because they will not be aware of the departure restrictions. A pilot on an IFR flight plan making an instrument approach should execute a published missed approach procedure or proceed as instructed by ATC. So what that looks like, in this next slide, you'll see the high ILS for runway 23 left. In the upper right hand corner, it explains exactly what the missed approach is going to be. So if you were to issue a go-around instruction for an IFR aircraft on the high ILS, he's going to climb to 11,000 feet, track the Edwards Vortac radial 226, outbound to Greece. And you can see off the departure of the runway that's depicted, there's a dotted line. And that dotted line is going to be the actual route of flight that the aircraft's going to make. A breakout is a technique to direct aircraft out of the approach stream. In the context of simultaneous independent parallel operations, a breakout is used to direct threatened aircraft away from the deviating aircraft. So in this example, I have an F-16 going from from low key to base key and an aircraft on final. So how that would sound, would you issue that breakout instruction, breakout, climb to high key, traffic, F-16 3-mile final. In this example, I have an F-16 turning base with a T-38 that may be too close on final. So in this situation, I gave you 3 options that are possible. You could do a south reentry, transition to the overhead, or transition to a north reentry. Hopefully at this point you have already issued traffic ahead of time and the aircraft has the other aircraft in sight, and now you realize that it's too close, or the pilot advises you that he's too close and seeks additional instructions. So in the event that he sees the aircraft, you could just tell them break out and re-enter at initial, or break out, re-enter north reentry, or break out, re-enter south reentry. In case he doesn't see him, first thing you need to do is issue traffic, Cobra 38, traffic, T-38 2-mile final, break out, and enter whatever pattern you want them to go into. However, what you need to consider is the entire traffic pattern. You might have a situation where you have an F-35 that's at initial. In this situation, altitude is key, and so you can't just say break out and have him continue his present heading. So you might need to give additional instructions like break out, maintain at or below 3,300, which will bring him 500 feet below the altitude of that aircraft. So in this situation, it's going to, depending on how the traffic is in front of him or what other factors, you might have to get the instruction first and the traffic before you give him an actual additional instruction about which direction to go. For example, in this scenario, I might say something like break out, maintain at or below 3,300, traffic F-35 in the overhead, or traffic in the overhead to be more general. That way he descends to that altitude and maintains at or below that altitude until it's no longer a factor. And then you can give additional instructions depending on the scenario. Again, it's going to be traffic to one is traffic to the other. So don't forget the F-35 and let him know what that F-16 is doing. Because if he just sees that F-16 in the base turn and then he sees him starting to climb or carry through final, he's going to want to know what is that aircraft doing, so that he doesn't make his own decision and try to turn out to avoid that traffic, complexing the scenario even more. And that concludes this session. Thank you. Have a good day.